to Muse on the Mic. I'm Riley.
And I'm Emily.
Today we're going to start diving into couple sessions and the couples that frequent Muse. We're definitely going to do a deeper dive on an upcoming Patreon episode, but for now we're going to start here with you guys on YouTube.
We're so glad to have you guys back again. Make sure you do follow our Patreon account so you can get all those spicy episodes. And make sure you follow us on social media, all of which are linked in the caption below. A bit of history and background about us. We own a happy ending massage parlor in Toronto, Canada. And now we have a podcast to tell you guys all behind the scenes, the juicy things, the questions, the weird stuff, and everything in between, including couples. We love couples. I think couples is one of my favorite sectors of clientele. I find it super fascinating. How do you feel, Ray?
Couples are an interesting topic. I think it's so outside the norm in terms of mileage that can happen in the room. I think it takes a very special couple that is, very trusting and communicates really well. I admire them, actually. I think it's fascinating. It's not something I would personally be comfy with, but I like hearing the stories and kind of learning about it.
I totally agree. You know what? If we were in a different part of the world and I was in that kind of marriage, I would totally do it. I would totally do it. I don't know if I'd quite go like swingers or some of the other parts of lifestyle, but I think an erotic massage just sounds really fun.
Yeah.
I think it sounds really cool.
And I think Muse for a lot of couples, which we'll talk more about what we do with them, but it's kind of a baby step. It's not quite a swingers club experience. So it's kind of, getting your feet wet. Is this something we're comfortable with? Do we want to have someone watch us? Do we want to have someone join us in some capacity? So it's really like the starting point of their exploration.
Yeah, and I find that's kind of where the initial point of contact comes from with their inquiries. So I find normally couples have a million questions, right? It's very new. Chances are maybe he has a little experience dabbling in some sort of using sex work as a customer before. Maybe she knows, maybe she doesn't, but it's often the wife that is very green about it. So they come with a holistic question. So I find more times than not, they email in with their inquiries, and I'm the one that gets those emails. So as much as I'm sure some call front desk, chances are, even if those questions are really like lengthy, they'll say, you know what, you'd be best off emailing the owner. She'll be able to help you with everything and really explain it. So I get their 10 questionnaire by the time that they end up with a message to my phone. And it's often nervousness. It's a little bit of insecurity sometimes, which gosh, we're women. We understand that, right? The girls are hot. Holy shit. Like, what's gonna happen? But I do find that there's common threads. I find the first visit is often celebratory. So it could be Valentine's, it could be anniversary, it could be it's my hubby's birthday. Like it could come from any of those kind of angles where either them or one of the two is like the queen for the day or the focus of the day or birthday boy for the day. So it's kind of all about them. And you're totally right about kind of sampling the vibe of adding people to your intimate life. So it's not quite a threesome. It's pretty darn close, but it's definitely getting your feet wet. It doesn't mean you have to sit and like watch your partner get banged. It doesn't mean that you're gonna be like right in the thick of it, like, oh my God, we're just having sex with somebody. That said, I think I'd be totally lying my ass off if we ever thought that didn't happen.
Right.
Yeah, positive. But we also get couples from all walks of life, which I find super interesting. And I will account some of this to our earlier history in kind of realizing that there was quite the market out there. And I'm sure you remember our first few times at the Everything to Do with Sex show, which is a sexy trade show here in Toronto, Canada. That there was, I think, a lot more interest than we anticipated. I remember standing at our booth a few times being like, we've talked to almost no single dudes and we've talked to pure couples for the past 4 hours or like all Friday evening or something like that. So the palace intrigue is there. The like, I'm almost ready, honey, is kind of there. And we just have built an awesome bridge. But we've connected with other businesses at that very trade show where there are whole premises couples, right? Like Oasis.
Well, and I think some of the couples we met at the sex show, even that is their first step. Like, honey, let's go to the sex show this year. And I don't think it's very, it, the experience doesn't have to be very wild. It's a trade show. There's different vendors and there's stuff to buy and toys. But for a lot of couples, I think that is the first step. And then what better place for them to meet us, right? And be like, you gotta
Yeah.
come in, try it out.
It's true. And I think we fit in so good at that trade show in general because you're right. There's so many vendors. I remember one year we were across, our booth was across from a woman that just made gorgeous satin bed sheets.
Yeah.
And then one booth over was the biggest sex toy display I've ever seen in my life. And then two booths over was live cam girls. And it was just
Right.
like the variety was crazy. There was local reporters walking around. This was a little bit before like vloggers and influencers. But I remember Todd Tickles, formerly of the Dean Blundell show way back in the day on the radio, was walking around doing interviews. He did a live interview with us. Playboy would be there sometimes. But we also had other companies like some of the local swingers clubs that are also exclusive to the sex show. And that's where we made some great friends there. We've connected with authors and sexologists and journalists and some strip clubs and like all of them. But we built a very special connection with Oasis Aqua Lounge, which is one of, I would say, the top three swingers clubs in our city. And gosh, to this day, it's an ongoing like friendship, business relationship. We do a lot of referrals and cross promos, parties, all kinds of different things. And meeting their customers, so their members, which is what a swingers club by law has to operate by in Toronto via membership, were some of our earliest supporters in terms of trying out the couple sessions, who tell a friend, who tell a friend, who tell a friend. And even meeting them when we've gone for events at Oasis Aqua Lounge ourselves. I mean, some of the most interesting conversations you could find.
Absolutely. And I even had friends, I'll tell a bit of a personal story. Um,
Yay!
Friends of mine that I think just take comfort, like, okay, she owns Muse, maybe she'll know something. They're curious about kind of experimenting. And I don't think they ever went the full route of swinging. But I took them to Oasis. I was like, this place you have to see. And I didn't participate. We just hung out and had drinks and they went and explored. And I know they went back after that and they just adored the place. They had the best time. I think they were more kind of interested in watching others and, doing their own thing and being watched. But it's such like an amazing playground for people to just get to know their partner more, like trade off and get to know someone else.
It's so true. Like I know this couple that you're speaking of, and I remember their giddiness about it. Now, I definitely don't know that they're close friends of yours, but not that I ever thought them conservative, but it was like seeing this little side to them all of a sudden. They were kind of lit up and like really excited. I know conversation about our couple sessions, like what kind of couples actually go to these places. Like we get in that same category of these places. Like, what are they like? Like, are they weirdos? Are they normal? Are they like us? And so I think the fact that we were able to be that kind of bridge, the fact that you were the introducer and I'll go with you. I mean, the pool and the fact that you can drink in the pool naked
Mhm.
in the middle of downtown city, whether it's summertime or the snow is falling, is just such an appeal, whether you even swing or you don't. But to have that as kind of like that layer of cushion and comfort in between, and then that voyeur room at Oasis is just chef's kiss, in my opinion. I'd be that guy too, just like watching all
Oh
the
my
things.
God. And you know what? It just reminded me of another story. And I can't remember if I've told this in a previous episode. So I apologize if you're hearing this for the second time. I don't remember why we were at a meeting with our lawyer, but it was at Oasis. And maybe he even introduced us. I don't remember. But I remember it was summer, it was warm, and we were sitting by the pool, clothed. This is a business meeting. And I'm sitting across watching, this is my first experience at Oasis, watching this man sit on the side of the pool getting a blowjob. And I'm like, how am I in a business meeting right now? Trying to act normal. And I felt like I was the only one that felt uncomfortable. Like I was just like, what is happening? But yeah, it's wild. That place, anything can happen.
We live a surreal life, don't we?
It really is.
Like the hi, honey, how was your day? Is just like you're not ready for this. You need to sit down, have a glass of wine in your hand.
Yeah,
You never know. How'd that big meeting go? Oh well.
it's interesting.
So good. And so I find that Oasis couples, because of that cross promo, our presence there a little bit, the obvious like love that we have for the owners and the owners have for us, they champion us everywhere they can. Really built kind of an automatic trust with their members. And so they were fully happy to dive in. And we have definitely had couples that come in that are like, we've never tried anything like this before. We've had some that are like, we've been swingers for 35 years and we just want to do something a little more pulled back, like back to basics almost, something a little bit more quiet, more intimate, less eyes, all the things. So it can be used as a tool in your, I guess, relationship arsenal in a way that we didn't fathom when we first kind of thought it all up and realized this market. I find that part so interesting because you don't want to ever feel like you've run out of ideas in your sex life, right? In your intimate partnership. Whether you're a swinger, whether you're polyamorous, whether you've only ever had one lover your whole life since high school. Like I think either which way, you should always continue that creative momentum forward. But there's always a time to scale back. And there's always a time we're going back to basics, sometimes just puts the roots deeper in the ground or re-solidifies all the reasons why you got into the fun in the first place. And if we're able to be that kind of a tool for couples, I think it's pretty freaking cool. And as much as there's like kind of a thought of almost overexposure being in an environment like Oasis, having a business meeting and seeing blowjobs, it's kind of overexposure, right? But at the same time, to be able to have that intimacy, that bring in the sensuality, bring in the massage element, and bring in kind of that spa day feeling to it, as much as there is all the other wild, sexy stuff, can be kind of a nice rebalance, I think, from just like walking into, let's say, the dungeon room at Oasis, which is just like hardcore everywhere. Whatever you're into, I think that like option, it can be really kind of cool and probably regrounding, resetting for whatever kind of relationship you're in. I think it's super cool. We actually, that just triggered a memory. We have a former muse who brings in, she has about 5 favorite clients that she still sees independently. And she will come in with them as a couple and do a couple session if he doesn't have a wife that would be willing to participate. So they pretend to be Mr. and Mrs. for the day. They go off to a nice little lunch and then they come by the spa for a rendezvous. And I think it's the coolest thing ever. She wants to be treated like a customer. She's clearly not there to work, even though she's technically on the clock for him. But the fact that she trusts us, she won't go to any other spa. She trusts these are clients that may or may not even know about Muse. And she kind of uses our spot as the spot to go and create that experience for that customer. And I like, what a roundabout way to get there. But like, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. And I remember one time she's like, we got fake wedding rings and everything. And they came in as like, oh, we're on our honeymoon and we thought we would do, and like they role play the whole thing. It's really, really cute.
That's awesome.
She's a blast. Like, God bless the man that eventually marries her, because it'll be a wild ride. But the fact that she kind of comes back home, to me, it feels like she comes back home to kind of have that experience, even with her favorite customers, I think is so cool too.
I wanted to touch on, I think the pandemic really highlighted for a lot of couples that, they're all at home and what's left to do but play and communicate and all of those things. And I think there was a little bit of an influx after that, when we reopened, of couples really wanting to come in and explore, right?
Yeah, we definitely saw a big shift in that. I saw it not just in, the numbers in the books, in the analytics through website, social media inquiries and traffic, but just the numbers of people that were curious all of a sudden. It was kind of like the pandemic still, to me, is such a surreal experience, because there was definitely those like holy shit moments across the board, right? Where suddenly you were homeschooling, or suddenly you're stuck with this partner that you only pretty much see for an hour on weeknights and some weekends when the kids don't have too many activities, right? To all of a sudden just being like every day, all day in the house. Now what? What do we talk about? What do we do? Hi, who are you now? Like it could have been 8 years since you had that kind of conversation, because life gets going before you know it. And it put such a pause on everything. And I mean, I think we all know for some couples it was horrible And for some couples, it was invigorating and re-sparked so many things. And the amount of inquiries that came in, the amount of couple sessions we've been doing to this day since the pandemic has been transformational. It's inspiring to me because I get to hear so many of their love stories, which are not always, shiny with rainbows. Sometimes there's a lot of struggle to get to that point. Some people, were on the verge of ending things because of the stress of the pandemic, or just before that hit, we felt like strangers in the home and blah, blah, blah. And then the world went crazy and you just kind of had to figure it out. And you get to Googling with so many things, right? And they found us. And based on how those conversations go from inquiry to getting them actually in, which I hate talking about them like it's such a sales pitch, but from initial inquiry to completing the sale was such a fascinating process because they came in with very different kinds of questions. Suddenly it wasn't just, oh, my husband's been talking about threesomes since, the day we got married, and I guess finally I'll appease him, to, what, we've been talking about this for weeks now. We've had all the time to think about it. We've asked each other all the questions because, again, there was nothing else to do. And could have started with watching threesome porn, and next thing you know, it's, honey, that would be kind of fun to do, or be fun to watch, and blah blah blah. That we've even expanded our menu offering for couples because of how much demand there is for couples right now. And I feel like people will be shocked. We'll never reveal those numbers, but people will be shocked at the numbers because it's just, even on social media, we see such a flux, such an inquiry, the comment section, the DMs, it's everywhere. Couples are looking for something fresh and new. And with that, still that intimate connection and the play. And I think we just cover that so freaking well. Then we'll get into all the play in that future episode. But I think it's such a great starter. I think this is such a nice little taste test for our viewers and listeners to hear what couples are really all about and where they come from. I can tell you, we've had, leader of the PTA to head swinger all his life, like, and everybody in between.
And if there's any couples out there listening, don't hesitate. Email in, DM us. Let us help you, because it could be an experience I'm sure you've been thinking about, but it can actually happen, and you can pull off with your wife and feel great about it.
Absolutely. We definitely have some that are like, this was a life-changing experience for us, or we're going to do this every Valentine's now, no matter what, like the pre-dinner plans are. We're going to finish off the night at Muse. Some it's re-sparked and reinvigorated a pretty stale or non-existent sex life. For some, it reminded them what they loved about each other, just because they got to see each other in that, like, romantic candlelit little moment. And the girls, I mean, our staff freaking love couple sessions, right? I don't hear the end of it with their excitement. They talk about it afterwards. They tell me the story. Emily, oh my God, I had the hottest couple in today. Da, 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 da. And they just go on and on about it. Like, they are absolutely aroused by the idea too, which makes your workday that much better, right? So I just think the whole thing is like this, like, pot of fascination and so many insights into societal trends, sex trends, the psychology of couples, marriages, the good and the bad, all kind of mixed in this little brewing pot where we're able to kind of have an offering for them that might be something that they love. I'm so proud of us. We should do another one of these.
Oh, you have your horn. I don't.
So before we get into any of the nakedness, I think we should leave that for the Patreon. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
All right, guys, you know where you got to go. You got to go to patreon.com/Muse On The Mic. Make sure you subscribe, because you have to have access to, what do we have up there now? At least 10 exclusive episodes that are not to be found on YouTube, because YouTube would totally ban us if we put those there. So join the Patreon. Follow us on all social media platforms. Be sure to DM your questions or inquiries at any given time. Couples, hit us up with your questions too. And we will see you on the next episode of Muse On The Mic.
Bye, guys.